Chapter 2, Part 3. The door opened as she came up the walk, and Walter said,
"Where have you been?"
She kicked her boots against the doorstep. "The library," she said.
"Why didn't you call? I thought you had an accident with the snow and..."
The roads are clear," she said, scuffing her boots on the mat.
"You should have called, for God's sake. It's after 6.
She went in. He closed the door. She put her handbag on the chair and began taking her gloves off.
What's she like?"
he said. "She's very nice," she said. "Sympathetic."
"What did she say?"
She put the gloves into her pockets and began unbuttoning her coat. "She thinks I need a little therapy," she said, "to sort out my feelings before we move. I'm pulled two ways by conflicting demands." She took the coat off.
"Well, no, it sounds like sensible advice,"
he said.
"To me, anyway. How does it sound to you?"
She looked at the coat, holding it by the lining at its collar, and let it drop over the handbag in the chair. Her hands were cold. She rubbed them, palm against palm, looking at them. She looked at Walter. He was watching her attentively, his head cocked. Stubble sanded his cheeks and darkened his chin cleft. His face was fuller than she had thought. He was gaining weight, and below his wonderfully blue eyes, pouches of flesh had begun to form. How old was he now? 40 on his next birthday, March 3rd. "To me," she said, "it sounds like a mistake, a very big mistake." She lowered her hands and palmed her skirted sides. "I'm taking Pete and Kim into the city," she said. "To Shep and..."
"What for?"
"Sylvia's, or to a hotel. I'll call you in a day or two. I'll have someone call you, another lawyer." He stared at her and said,
"What are you talking about?"
"I know," she said. "I've been reading old chronicles. I know what Dale Koba used to do, and I know what he's doing now. He and those other Computech Instatron geniuses." He stared at her and blinked.
I don't know what you're talking about,"
he said. "Oh, cut it out." She turned away and went down the hallway and into the kitchen, switching on the lights. The port to the family room showed darkness. She turned. Walter stood in the doorway.
I haven't the foggiest idea what you're talking about,"
he said. She strode past him. "Stop lying," she said. "You've been lying to me ever since I took my first picture." She swung around and started up the stairs. Pete, she called. "Kim."
"They're not here."
She looked at him over the banister as he came from the hallway.
"When you didn't show up," he said, "I thought it would be a good idea to get them out for the night in case anything was wrong."
She turned, looking down at him. "Where are they?" she asked.
"With friends," he said. "They're fine."
"Which friends?" He came around to the foot of the stairs.
"They're fine," he said.
She turned to face him, found the banister, held it. Our weekend alone," she said.
"I think you ought to lie down a while," he said.
He put a hand to the wall, his other hand to the banister.
"You're not making sense, Joanna," he said. "Diz, of all people, where does he come into things, and what you just said about my lying to you?"
"What did you do?" she said. "Put a rush on the order? Is that why everyone was so busy this week? Christmas toys? Oh, that's a hoot. What were you doing? Trying it for size?"
"I honestly don't know what you're..."
"The dummy," she said. She leaned toward him, holding the banister. "The robot. Oh, very good. Attorney surprised by a new allegation. You're wasting yourself in trusts and estates. You belong in a courtroom. What does it cost? Would you tell me? I'm dying to know. What's the going price for a stay-in-the-kitchen wife with big boobs and no demands? A fortune, I'll bet. Or do they do it dirt cheap, out of that good old men's association spirit? And what happens to the real ones? The incinerator? Stepford Pond?" He looked at her, standing with his hands to the wall and the banister.
"Go upstairs and lie down," he said.
"I'm going out," she said. He shook his head.
"No," he said. "Not when you're talking like this. Go upstairs and rest."
She came down a step. "I'm not going to stay here to be..."
"You're not going out," he said. "Now go upstairs and rest. When you've calmed down, we'll try to talk sensibly."
She looked at him standing there with her hands to the wall and the banister, looking at her coat on the chair, and turned and went quickly up the stairs. She went into the bedroom and closed the door, turned the key, switched on the lights. She went to the dresser, pulled a drawer open and got out a bulky white sweater, shook it unfolded and thrust her arms in and sleeved them. She pulled the turtleneck down over her head and gathered her hair and drew it free. The door was tried, tapped on.
Joanna?
"Scram," she said, pulling the sweater down around her. "I'm resting. You told me to rest."
Let me in for a minute.
She stood watching the door, said nothing.
Joanna, unlock the door.
"Later," she said. "I want to be alone for a while." She stood without moving, watching the door.
All right. Later.
She stood and listened to silence and turned to the dresser and eased the top drawer open. She searched in it and found a pair of white gloves. She wriggled a hand into one and the other and pulled out a long striped scarf and looped it around her neck. She went to the door and listened and switched the lights off. She went to the window and raised the shade. The walk light shone. The Claybrooks' living room was lighted but empty. Their upstairs windows were dark. She raised the window sash quietly. The storm window stood behind it. She'd forgotten about the damn storm window. She pushed at its bottom. It was tight, wouldn't budge. She hit at it with the side of her gloved fist and pushed again with both hands. It gave, swinging outward a few inches, and would swing no farther. Small metal arms at its sides reached open to their fullest. She would have to unclamp them from the window frame. Lights fanned out on the snow below. He was in the den. She stood straight and listened. Tiny toothed chittering came from behind her. From the phone on the night table came again and again, long, short, long. He was dialing the den phone, calling Dale Kober to tell him she was there. Proceed with plans, all systems go. She tiptoed slowly to the door, listened and turned the key back and eased the door open, a hand held against it. Pete's Star Trek gun lay by the threshold of his room. Walter's voice burred faintly. She tiptoed to the stairs and started slowly, quietly down, pressing close to the wall, looking down through the banister supports at the corner of the den doorway.
Not sure I can handle her myself.
You're goddamn right you can't, Counselor. But the chair by the front door was empty. Her coat and handbag, car keys, wallet, gone. Still, this was better than going through the window. She made it down to the hall. He talked and was quiet. Look for the handbag. He moved in the den, and she ducked into the living room, stood at the wall, her back pressing tight. His footsteps came into the hall, came near the doorway, stopped. She held her breath. A string of short hisses, his usual "let's see now" sound before tackling major projects, putting up storm windows, assembling a tricycle. Killing a wife? Or did Kober the hunter perform that service? She closed her eyes and tried not to think, afraid her thoughts would somehow beckon him. His footsteps went up the stairs slowly. She opened her eyes and freed her breath bit by bit, waiting as he went higher. She hurried quietly across the living room, around chairs, the lamp table, unlocked the door to the patio and opened it, unlocked the storm door and pushed it against a base of drifted snow. She squeezed herself out and ran over snow, ran and ran with her heart pounding, ran toward dark tree trunks over snow that was sled-tracked. Pete and Kim boot-marked, ran and clutched a trunk and swung around it and rushed, stumbled, groped through tree trunks. She rushed, stumbled, groped, keeping to the centre of the long belt of trees that separated the houses on Fairview from the houses on Harvest. She had to get to Ruth Ann's. Ruth Ann would lend her money and a coat. Let her call an Eastbridge taxi or someone in the city. Shep, Doris, Andreas, someone with a car who would come pick her up. Pete and Kim would be all right. She had to believe that. It'd be all right till she got to the city and spoke to people, spoke to a lawyer, got them back from Walter. They were probably being cared for beautifully by Bobby or Carol or Mary Ann Stavros, by the things that were called by those names, that is. And Ruth Ann had to be warned. Maybe they could go together, though Ruth Ann had time yet. She came to the end of the belt of trees, made sure no cars were coming, and ran across Winter Hill Drive. Snow-pillowed spruce trees lined the far side of it. She hurried along behind them, her arms folded across her chest, her hands in their thin gloves buried in her armpits. Gwendolen Lane, where Ruth Ann lived, was somewhere near Shortridge Hill, out past Bobby's. Getting there would take almost an hour. More, probably, with the snow on the ground and the darkness, and she didn't dare hitchhike because any car could be Walter, and she wouldn't know till too late. Not only Walter, she realised suddenly. They would all be out looking for her, cruising the roads with flashlights, spotlights. How could they let her get away and tell? Every man was a threat, every car a danger. She would have to make sure Ruth Ann's husband wasn't there before she rang the bell, looked through the windows. Oh, God. Could she get away? None of the others had. But maybe none of the others had tried. Bobby hadn't. Charmaine hadn't. Maybe she was the first one to find out in time. If it was in time. She left Winter Hill and hurried down Talcott Lane. Headlights flashed and a car swung from a driveway ahead on the other side. She crouched beside a parked car and froze, and light swam under her and the car drove past. She stood and looked. The car was going slowly, and sure enough, a spotlight beam lanced from it and slid a wobble of light over housefronts and lawns of snow. She hurried down Talcott, past silent houses with Christmas-lighted windows and Christmas-light-trimmed doors. Her feet and legs were cold, but she was all right. At the end of Talcott was Old Norwood Road, and from there she would take either Chimney Road or Honeycutt. A dog barked nearby, barked ragingly, but the barking dropped behind her as she hurried on. A black arm of tree branch lay on the trodden snow. She set her boot across it and broke off half of it, and hurried on, holding the cold, wet strength of branch in her thin gloved hand. A flashlight gleamed in Pine Tree Lane. She ran between two houses, ran over snow toward a snow dome of bush, huddled behind it, panting, holding at the branch tightly in her aching cold hand. She looked out at the backs of houses, their windows alight. From the rooftop of one, a stream of red sparks lofted and danced, dying among the stars. The flashlight came swaying from between two houses, and she drew back behind the bush. She rubbed a stockinged knee, warmed the other in the crook of her elbow. Wan light swept toward her over snow, and spots of light slid away over her skirt and gloved hand. She waited longer, and looked out. Dark man shape went toward the houses, following a patch of lighted snow. She waited till the man had gone, and rose and hurried toward the next street over. Hickory Lane, Schweitzer, she wasn't sure which it was, but both of them led toward Shortridge Road. Her feet were numb despite the boots' fleece lining. A light shone blindingly, and she turned and ran. A light ahead swung toward her, and she ran to the side, up a cleared driveway, past the side of a garage and down a long slope of snow. She slipped and fell, clambered to her feet, still holding the branch. The lights were bobbing toward her and ran over level snow. A light swung toward her. She turned toward snow with no hiding place, and turned and stood where she was, panting. "Get away! Get away!" she cried at the lights bobbing toward her, two on each side, one on the other. She raised the branch. "Get away!" Flashlights bobbed toward her and slowed and stopped, their radiance blinding. "Get away!" she cried and shielded her eyes. The light lessened.
"Put them out. We're not going to hurt you, Mrs. Eberhardt. Don't be afraid. We're Walter's friends."
The light went. She lowered her hand.
"You're friends too. I'm Frank Roddenberry. You know me. Take it easy. No one's going to hurt you."
Shapes darker than the darkness stood before her. "Stay away," she said, raising the branch higher.
"Oh, you don't need that."
"Then get away," she said.
"We're not going to hurt you,"
Frank Roddenberry's voice said.
"Everyone's out looking for you. Walter's worried."
"I'll bet he is," she said. They stood before her, 4 or 5 yards away, 3 men.
Oh, you shouldn't be running around like this. No coat on.
One of them said.
Get away,
She said.
Put it down.
Frank said.
No one's gonna hurt you. Mrs. Eberhard, I was on the phone with Walter not 5 minutes ago.
The man in the middle was speaking.
We know about this idea you've got. It's wrong, Mrs. Eberhard. Believe me, it's just not so. Nobody's making robots.
Frank said.
You must think we're a hell of a lot smarter than we really are.
The man in the middle said.
Robots that can drive cars and cook meals and trim kids' hair.
And so real looking that the kids wouldn't notice?
The third man said. He was short and wide.
Oh, you must think we're a town full of geniuses.
The man in the middle said.
Believe me, we're not.
you're the men who put us on the moon.
She said.
Who is?
He said.
Not me. Frank, did you put anybody on the moon? Bernie? Not me.
Frank said. The short man laughed.
Not me, Win.
He said.
Not that I know of.
I think you've got us mixed up with a couple of other fellows.
The man in the middle said.
Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein, maybe.
My gosh.
The short man said.
We don't want robots for wives. We want real women.
Get away and let me go on.
She said. They stood there, darker than the darkness.
Joanna,
Frank said.
if you were right and we could make robots that were so fantastic and lifelike, don't you think we'd cash in on it somehow? No, that's right.
The man in the middle said.
We could all be rich with that kind of know-how.
Maybe you're going to.
She said.
Maybe this is just the beginning.
Oh, my Lord.
The man said.
You've got an answer for everything. You should have been the lawyer, not Walter.
Frank and the short man laughed.
Come on, Joanna.
Frank said.
Put down that bat or whatever it is.
Get away and let me go on.
She said.
We can't do that.
The man in the middle said.
You'll catch pneumonia or get hit by a car.
I'm going to a friend's house.
She said.
I'll be inside for a few minutes. I'd be inside now if you hadn't. Oh, Jesus.
She lowered the branch and rubbed her arm and rubbed her eyes and her forehead, shivering.
Will you let us prove to you that you're wrong?
The man in the middle said.
Then we'll take you home, and you can get some help if you need it.
She looked at his dark shape.
Prove to me?
She said.
Well, we'll take you to the house, the Men's Association house.
Oh, no.
Now, just for a second, just hear me out, please. We'll take you to the house, and you can check it over from stern to stern. I'm sure nobody will object under the circumstances, and you'll see there's,
I'm not setting foot in.
You'll see there's no robot factory there.
He said.
There's a bar and a card room and a few other rooms, and that's it. There's a projector and some very X-rated movies. That's our big secret.
In the slot machines.
Short man said.
Yes, we've got some slot machines.
I wouldn't set foot in there without an armed guard
She said.
of women soldiers.
We'll clear everyone out.
Frank said.
You'll have the place all to yourself.
I won't go.
She said.
Mrs. Eberhard,
The man in the middle said.
we're trying to be as gentle about this as we know how, but there's a limit to how long we're going to stand here parlaying.
Wait a minute.
The short man
I
said.
got an idea. Suppose one of these women you think is a robot. Suppose she was to cut herself on the finger and bleed. Would that convince you she was a real person? Or would you say we made robots with blood under the skin?
Oh, for God's sake, Bernie.
The man in the middle said. And Frank said.
You can't ask someone to cut herself just to...
Will you let her answer the question, please? Well, Mrs. Eberhard, would that convince you? If she cut her finger and bled?
Bernie?
Just let her answer, damn it.
Joanna stood staring and nodded.
If she bled,
She said.
I would think she was real.
We're not going to ask someone to cut herself. We're going to go to...
Bobby would do it.
She said.
If she's really Bobby, she's my friend, Bobby Markow.
On Fox Hollow Lane?
The short man asked.
Yeah.
She said.
You see?
He said.
It's 2 minutes from here. Just think for a second, will ya? We won't have to go all the way into the center. We won't have to make Mrs. Eberhard go somewhere she doesn't want to.
Nobody said anything.
I guess it's not a bad idea.
Frank said.
We can speak to Mrs. Markow.
She won't bleed.
Joanna said.
She will.
The man in the middle said.
And when she does, you'll know you're wrong, and you'll let us take you home to Walter without any arguments.
If she does.
She said.
Yes.
All right.
he said.
Frank, you run on ahead and see if she's there and explain to her. I'm going to leave my flashlight on the ground here, Mr. Eberhard. Bernie and I'll go a little ahead, and you can pick it up and follow us, as far behind as makes you comfortable. But keep the light on us so we know you're still there. I'm leaving my coat, too. Put it on. I can hear your teeth chattering.
She was wrong. She knew it. She was wrong and frozen and wet and tired and hungry and pulled 18 ways by conflicting demands, including to pee. If they were killers, they'd have killed her then. The branch wouldn't have stopped them, 3 men facing 1 woman. She lifted the branch and looked at it, walking slowly, her feet aching. She let the branch fall. Her glove was wet and dirty, her fingers frozen. She flexed them and tucked her hand into her other armpit. She held the long, heavy flashlight as steadily as she could. The men walked with small steps ahead of her. The short man wore a brown coat and a red leather cap. The taller man a green shirt and tan pants tucked into brown boots. He had reddish blonde hair. His sheepskin coat lay warm on her shoulders. Its smell was strong and good, of animals, of life. Bobby would bleed. It was coincidence that Dale Kober had worked on robots at Disneyland, that Claude Axhelm thought he was Henry Higgins, that Ike Mazard drew his flattering sketches. Coincidence that she had spun into madness. Yes, madness. It's not catastrophic, Dr. Fancher said, smiling. I'm sure I can help you. Bobby would bleed, and she would go home and get warm. Home to Walter. When had it begun, her distrust of him, the feeling of nothingness between them? Whose fault was it? His face had grown fuller. Why hadn't she noticed it before today? Had she been too busy taking pictures, working in the dark room? She would call Dr. Fancher on Monday, would go and lie on the brown leather couch, would cry a little maybe, and try to become happy. The men waited at the corner of Fox Hollow Lane. She made herself walk faster. Frank stood waiting in Bobby's bright doorway. The men talked with him and turned to her as she came slowly up the walk. Frank smiled.
She says, sure,
He said.
if it'll make you feel better, she'd be glad to do it.
She gave the flashlight to the green-shirted man. His face was broad and leathery, strong-looking.
We'll wait out here,
He said, lifting the coat from her shoulders. She said,
She doesn't have to.
No, go on.
He said.
I'll only start wondering again later.
Frank came out onto the doorstep.
She's in the kitchen.
He said. She went into the house. Its warmth surrounded her. Rock music blared and thumped from upstairs. She went down the hallway, flexing her aching hands. Bobby stood waiting in the kitchen, in red slacks and an apron with a big daisy on it. Hi, Joanna, she said and smiled. Beautiful, bosomy Bobby, but not a robot. Hi, she said. She held the door jamb and leaned to it and rested the side of her head against it. I'm sorry to hear you're in such a state, Bobby said. Sorry to be in it, she said. I don't mind cutting my finger a little, Bobby said, if it'll ease your mind for you. She walked to a counter, walked smoothly, steadily, gracefully, opened a drawer. Bobby, Joanna said. She closed her eyes and opened them. You really Bobby? She asked. Of course I am, Bobby said, a knife in her hand. She went to the sink. Come here, she said. You can't see from there. The rock music blared louder. What's going on upstairs? Joanna asked. I don't know, Bobby said. Dave has the boys up there. Come here. You can't see. The knife was large, its blade pointed. You'll amputate your whole hand with that thing, Joanna said. I'll be careful, Bobby said, smiling. Come on. She beckoned, holding the large knife. Joanna raised her head from the jam and took her hand from it. She went into the kitchen, so shining and immaculate, so un-Bobby-like. She stopped. The music is in case I scream, she thought. She isn't going to cut her finger, she's going to... Come on, Bobby said, standing by the sink, beckoning, holding the point-bladed knife. Not catastrophic, Dr. Fancher. Thinking they're robots, not women. Thinking Bobby would kill me. Are you sure you can help me? You don't have to do it, she said to Bobby. It'll ease your mind, Bobby said. I'm seeing a shrink after New Year's, she said. That'll ease my mind. At least I hope it will. Come on, Bobby said. The men are waiting. Joanna went forward toward Bobby standing by the sink with the knife in her hand, so real-looking, skin, eyes, hair, hands, rising, falling aproned bosom, that she couldn't be a robot. She simply couldn't be. And that was all there was to it. The men stood on the doorstep, blowing out steamy breath, their hands deep in their pockets. Frank hipped from side to side with the beat of the loud rock music. Bernie said, "What's taking so long?" Wynne and Frank shrugged. The rock music blared. Wynne said, "I'm going to call Walter and tell him we found her." He went into the house.
Get Dave's car keys,
Frank called after him.